It is no secret that Australia's housing situation is extremely dire right now, and it has been for a very long time. We have all felt it. In fact, some economists are calling this the worst affordability crisis in history. So you might think, if it's already this bad, how much worse can it really get? Well, the joke's on you, because it just did. It just got worse. Right now, while most people are focused on oil prices, rising grocery bills, and interest rate hikes, there is another massive 100-foot-tall tsunami wave coming our way, and it is about to hit us in about 60 days. And I'm telling you right now, no one is prepared for it. Now, this sounds overly dramatic, but if you go back over the last 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, every prediction that I have been making has come true. Now, most people have not even noticed the early signs of this yet, and by the time they do, it will already be too late to react. Hey guys, it's Scott here. Now, it honestly does not matter who you are. You could be renting right now, someone trying to buy your first home. You could be a current homeowner. You could even be a property investor. Now, this 100-foot tall tsunami wave is not going to spare anyone, so switch off any other screen and lock in right now. We already know the housing market is stretched. We have supply bottlenecks, rising demand, and poor policy frameworks. Nothing new there. We always knew it would take years to bring on enough supply to absorb demand, and that the construction industry would need years to recover from the damage COVID did to global supply chains. But before the housing market even had a chance to recover from all of that, before it could stabilize, we got hit with something else. We got hit with the global energy shock. In fact, the construction industry is already sounding the alarm. Now, you have to understand, I am negotiating property deals for my investors every single day. I'm talking hundreds of deals a year. I'm sitting down and I'm putting these together. I am hearing from the people on the ground exactly what is happening. Builders, landowners, people on property are panicking and asking the government for COVID-style support just to keep projects alive. And before someone says, Scott, the ceasefire has been agreed and the Strait of Hormuz is open, let me ask you this. Is Iran not charging oil tankers a hefty toll to pass through? And who do you think ends up paying for that? In fact, let's look back at the Russia-Ukraine war. Did the construction industry ever really recover from that? We had inflation as a result of that. That inflation now is baked in to construction costs. Did building costs ever come down? No, they have not. This is exactly my point. So the real question is, what will happen next? Does this crash the housing market, or does it actually make the housing crisis even worse by pushing prices higher? Let's find out using data, statistical analysis, and the latest research that came out just yesterday. Research that I can promise you won't see anywhere else. In fact, I can guarantee you that you won't see this anywhere else. This research will completely change how you look at the property market this year and next, unless someone copies this video. Before I get into it, I cover property, policy, and the economy every single day, so you stay ahead of the curve. So hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, and make sure you do not miss what is coming next. Okay, guys, let's get into this. Now, before we get into what this new storm actually is, we need to understand why it is so dangerous. The real problem is what this shock is hitting. It is hitting a construction industry that was already weak. And to understand that, we need to go back to COVID, where the damage first began. When COVID hit, builders first feared demand for housing would collapse. However, the federal government stepped in at that time with a stimulus package. Also, interest rates went to zero, and programs like Home Builder were launched, which pushed demand back very, very quickly. But that created a bigger problem. Demand actually surged faster than supply could respond. Global supply chains broke down because of the Russia-Ukraine war, and also just because of COVID and everything shutting down. Shipping delays kicked in, labor became very, very scarce, and material costs surged sharply. Construction costs actually rose more than 30%, and home building costs jumped over 40% in just a few years. Now, at the same time, builders had already signed fixed price contracts when costs were lower, not forecasting these huge increases in materials and labor. By the time they delivered these homes, the cost structure had completely changed. They could not pass those increases on, so the losses sat with them. Now, some of them ate the losses and delivered. Some of them actually went bust. Some of them actually passed on some of those costs to the people that were building the homes. We saw in Melbourne, for example, one company went completely under. The government actually stepped in and had a bailout. So many things happened to get people through that time. Now, what I can say is that for myself during that time, I actually helped over 5,000 people invest, and we had little to no problems because we understood how to navigate those issues. This actually triggered a wave of insolvencies of construction companies after COVID, and that damage never fully went away. Today, the industry is still carrying those scars. Margins are thinner than they've ever been, balance sheets are weaker, labor shortages persist, and supply chains remain extremely expensive. Most projects are running on very tight feasibilities with very little buffer in them, and that is exactly why this next blow could be far more destructive than people realize. You have to understand, with the growing population, we have new property that needs to get built. The replacement cost of new property sets the price for all property across the entire market. So inflation on new builds affects everyone, whether you're a renter, a homeowner, a mortgage holder, an investor, someone wanting to buy the first home. Construction costs affects every single person in this economy. So now that we've covered that, let's talk about what's actually happening right now, which is this 100-foot tidal tsunami that I talked about in the intro. The Middle East conflict is not just pushing oil prices in isolation. It is triggering a chain reaction across the entire construction ecosystem globally and here at home in Australia. And the speed at which this is happening is very alarming. It is almost 10 times faster than what we saw during COVID. During COVID, costs rose gradually. It took months for the full impact to flow through the system. But this time, it is happening within weeks. On top of that, it is really a double whammy. The industry is getting squeezed from both ends. On one end, it is the actual cost of raw materials. Suppliers are already issuing notices of price increases across key materials, particularly those that are tied directly to petroleum. We are seeing plastics, PVC piping, polyethylene products, insulation, coatings, and a whole range of petroleum-derived inputs jump significantly in a very short period of time. And on the other side, it is transportation and construction equipment. Diesel prices are rising sharply, and diesel is what powers excavation, transport, cranes, earthworks, concrete delivery, and the movement of materials across every single construction site in the country. Unfortunately, EVs and electric cars, electric trucks cannot do that heavy lifting. So what you have is a situation where the cost to produce materials is rising at the same time as the cost to transport those materials. And when both of these pressures hit simultaneously, the entire cost base of construction starts moving upwards at an exponential fast pace. This is inflation on construction. And getting back to it, it doesn't end there. Most people hear about rising construction costs and immediately think, okay, that just means homes are going to become more expensive. But that is only part of the story. The bigger problem is what happens to projects that no longer make financial sense. Because construction is not just about demand, it is also about feasibility. If the cost to build a project increases, but the price that buyers can afford does not increase at the same pace, then that project simply does not go ahead. So I am seeing a correlation in the data right now between building approvals, hey, you're approved, go ahead and build, and actual building starts. Hey, let's actually get the bulldozers out and start building. There is a massive drop off between those two numbers. So we are starting to see the signs of this. Projects that were previously considered marginal are now becoming unviable. Projects that were viable are now sitting in a gray zone where developers are reconsidering whether or not to proceed. And once those decisions start getting delayed or cancelled, the impact is immediate. Now, on top of that, you still have the same structural issues that hurt the industry during COVID, which is fixed price contracts. Builders who have already locked in prices are now exposed to rising input costs that they cannot fully pass on, which means their margins will get squeezed, and in some cases, projects can tip into losses. And when that happens across enough projects and enough builders, the risk of insolvency starts to rise again. So the question is, what does all of this actually do to the property market here in Australia? Well, there are really only two ways that this can play out. Now, in the first scenario, this is where a large number of projects simply become unviable. For example, developers that were already operating on thin margins and, smaller players, for example, these players will not be able to absorb these cost increases. Their projects will get shelved. That means new housing supply gets pulled out of the pipeline. Now, the demand that would have been absorbed by that supply does not disappear. The demand is still there. It gets redirected into the existing market, pushing up the existing market. And also it flows into other new projects that are still going ahead. Now, the second scenario is where more established developers, the ones with buffers, and they've got cash buffers, massive amounts of cash buffers, investors, and massive amounts of resources are able to push through and still deliver projects despite the double whammy we just discussed. This is why if you're investing in a brand new property, you need experts to guide you. But even in this case, the outcome is not any better, because if the contracts are not fixed, those homes come to market at higher prices to reflect the increased cost of materials and construction. And if some of the contracts are fixed, yes, some stock still comes through at the original price, but that stock now attracts significantly higher demand. So at settlement, it can be worth a lot more. Why is this so? Because all the demand from the projects that never got built gets pushed into this limited supply that actually makes it to the market. At the same time, you still have strong underlying demand. You have the 5% deposit scheme, the 2% shared equity deposit scheme, buyers with equity, the support from the bank of mum and dad, and ongoing migration. So buyers are still able to stretch. They can absorb an extra $30,000 to $40,000 in construction costs if they have to. Now, if you combine all of that, you have reduced supply, redirected demand, and you've got buyers who still have the capacity to pay more. So whether projects get cancelled or whether they go ahead at higher costs, the end result will still be the same. Prices go up. And I know a lot of people in the comments will say, Scott, you always say property prices go up. Well, I told you that from the start of this video. I'm not going to give you my opinions. I am giving you the data. And by the way, over the last 100 years, what has happened to the price of everything? Milk, eggs, anything, property, it continues to go up because we are in an inflation-driven global economy. Remember that. Now, builders and industry leaders are already putting a number on this, and what they are saying is that if oil prices stay elevated, the cost of building a new home could increase anywhere between $35,000 to $50,000, and that shift is already happening right now. So let me put this in very simple terms for you. Every new home that comes onto the market, especially in the affordable segment, is going to be at least 50 grand more expensive in terms of replacement cost. However, that replacement cost will set a new price across the entire market. This is the entire market of new property, which is not yet built, and the existing market. Now you might say, okay, Scott, but prices only go up if people actually buy these homes. What if buyers just tap out? And that sounds logical, but it does not hold up when you look at the data. Housing Australia has already confirmed that nearly 50,000 recent migrant first home buyers have used the 5% deposit scheme. 50,000, which is roughly 1 in 5 of all buyers since the scheme started. And this is not limited to Australian citizens. Anyone with permanent residency can access this program. So what that means is this: if these schemes did not exist, then yes, a lot of buyers might have tapped out because they did not actually have the deposit funds. But because you have the 5% deposit scheme, the 2% deposit scheme, and also because there are other ways people can access capital, whether that be the bank of mum and dad, help from family, buyers are not dropping out, they stretch. And if you still want to contest that, go for it. Jump into the comments and tell me why I am wrong. This was your daily property update. I do these videos every single day so you can understand what's happening globally, what's happening locally, so that you can make the right financial moves for yourself and for the people you love and you care about, aka the people you're responsible for. I'll see you guys at the next video.